Two, three, four, the hardest part of the ring. Hey, the hardest part of the ring. Backwards. Sometimes you're distracting the referee, and the babyface he has your wrestler pinned. Then you get punched in the ring apron, and you realize all the trouble you're in when it's the hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. Two more. Sometimes you reach out for the hot tag, and you go ahead and make your own comeback. Why do you do that? That's when you should quit wrestling, and you're better off rolling a thumbtacks. AEW. The hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. One more. Sometimes you go over the top rope and you bang your head on the ring apron, knock it off. That's when you feel like a big dope, because they're the worst bumps you can be taking. Oh, it's the hardest part of the ring, the hardest part of the ring. Now, double claps. What's going on, bud? That wasn't a double clap. These are double claps. My rhythm is off today, Bob Squad. And my rhythm is off because I watched an AEW pay per view. And I have no idea what was happening. See, that was two double claps in a row. And my timing is still not as bad as all the multi-man matches that happened at AEW Full Gear. The hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. Ba-da-ba-da-boo. Oh, what is going on, Bob Squad? What are we bushwhacking our way through? We are bushwhacking our way through an AEW pay-per-view. I ordered a pay-per-view event. You pay for every time you view it, which is a shame. I was hoping maybe I got like a courtesy replay or something, because I fell asleep. Jeez, guys, I fell asleep through part of it, so that is unfortunate. But I lived, and I think I was better off. AEW Full Gear. Okay, so if you're not familiar, AEW is the, I guess, the number two wrestling company in the U.S. or whatever, and it's a whole is there's young and hip wrestlers and some older wrestlers doing different stuff, and mainly there's a whole chunk of our favorites from WWE in the last couple of years that a lot of fans feel were used very badly, and now we get to see them do the things we like to do while they're still very much in their prime. But it's hip and it's cool and it's young and it's trendy and it's 60% good. What happened with the rest of the other 70%? Yeah, I did the math. Any business to take care of beforehand? Not really, no. Nothing. You saw the Beach Town. Thank you, everyone, for watching the Beach Town episode of myself and Jesse Egan and the Jurassic Park review and all my hernia updates and all the good stuff. I'm laying down sideways as I do this one, but I'm entitled to do that. It's an audio medium, folks. Bob Squad, are you ready for AEW Full Gear? You don't have a choice. If you're not ready, just pause it. What's the matter with you? None of this is real. They had a pre-show, which is live on YouTube. It's you're listening already on YouTube probably, or Podomatic. I have listeners on Podomatic.com sometimes. It's not important. There was a pre-show, and they had a women's tag team match with Thunder Rosa and three other people who I don't need to write down, quite frankly, because you needed to know Thunder Rosa. I finally saw Nia Rose wrestle, and I still say this was Thunder Rosa and three other people. I saw Jamie Hayter finally wrestle, and this was Thunder Rosa and three other people. The Hikaru Shida. She didn't do much in this match, and she took the heat a lot of the times, and I wasn't big on her selling. But then I think there were two hot tags, and she got one of them. So I was like, oh, let's see what she can do. And I'm not gonna judge her yet, because I don't think this match was a good platform for at least someone who hasn't seen her wrestle to see what she actually does. So I'm gonna hold off my judgment on the Hikaru Ishida lady, because I don't think there was enough to go by. But I've seen Thunder Rosa a bunch of times. So they had Serena Deeb of the AEW Women's Division. They had her sit at ringside, so there were some women in the audience. The good guys won. Very good. We start the show, and the first match is MJF, Maxwell, Jacob Friedman. He's mean and has a scarf. And then there's a bunch of weird videos, like mini movies are playing for Darby Allin's entrance, where he's crashing a car. And, okay, cool. And Sting joins Darby Allin, and this was a very good opening match for the show, except it was too long. You're gonna hear me say that a lot for this one. There's only one match on the show that was the right length, and it wasn't this one. It wasn't even close. Yeah, I don't know where this MJF had this thing come out of nowhere, at least for me, that he says he can beat Darby with a headlock takeover, and he keeps headlock takeovering Darby Allin, and it's not beating him, but suddenly the story isn't that MJF is being a complete asshole to Darby's personal situations. The story is now he says Darby can't wrestle at all. But I don't know if that's we've really seen him wrestle. We've seen him wrestle, so I don't really see the big deal. Anyway, a bunch of teasing the coffin drop where Darby crosses his arms and falls backwards onto it. I think he did one to the outside where MJF had to reach out and catch him. He missed one and hit the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring, so many times. Everyone overdid the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring, all the ring apron spots, and hurt themselves on the hardest part of the ring so many times. Like they go, I thought like uh, NXT before it really was stupid was really bad at the apron stuff, but geez, they never let up all night long with the apron stuff. The match ended. Who won? MJF won somehow. I think he had some kind of object and knocked Darby out, and of course hooked headlock like he headlock take overed him or and okay. I think MJF is that what happened? Or did Darby beat him? No, I think MJF beat him. I forget. I watched this too. I was awake the entire time, and it was yesterday. I could have easily wrote this down. I'm not gonna forget the winner of the match. I mean, that's just well, apparently. No, I think MJF beat him. This is a time when AEW fans need to realize rematches are a good thing. As a matter of fact, rematches is how money is made. We need matches where we want to see that babyface get even, and this is one of them. So we have to resolve the issue. Doesn't feel resolved. There's just a lot of gas left in the tank. Darby's so beloved by these people, and MJF is obviously a great talker. And Sting is a legend. He's loved as well when he's around. I think there's just still way too much meat on the bone to chuck this one away just yet. So, some kind of no rules match I'm sure something will happen. Match number 2, FTR, the main tag team. They get a title. They're already the AAA tag team champions, so they wrestle people while they fix your car. I'm sure they've heard those jokes before. And they're challenging the Lucha Brothers, whatever the hell, for is that what they're called? Yeah, the Lucha guys. They're challenging them for the AEW Tag Team Championships. I fell asleep, so they locked up, and I fell asleep. And that's the second match. And I woke up for the finish of the third match. And the third match, apparently FDR lost the thing because the Bucks don't want FDR, the Young Bucks don't want FDR to ever look good because it exposes them further. So FDR lost, of course. Okay. I wake up and we're ending the number one contender match just in time for the finish. Bryan Danielson and Miro. I guess Miro replaced John Moxley or something like that in this tournament. The winner will be the number one contender for the championship. And oh, did they make a mistake later? But Bryan Danielson defeated Miro, and because they both wrestled in WWE, I was really this is one of the like 3 matches I really wanted to see. And I was bummed I fell asleep during it. Or I missed. I only caught the last 3 minutes. I just caught the finish really because I wanted to see two guys well versed in the WWE style do what they want in AEW and see what the difference would be. And I really wanted to get my eyeballs on that because I was curious. I've been watching the Bryan Danielson matches, and I wasn't too surprised. But what he's been doing is great, but I wasn't too surprised what he's been doing. It. I was curious to see like Miro's big adaptation to the thing, and I still got to see him go back and forth with Danielson for a bit. So I liked what I saw. And Bryan Danielson beats him. He chokes him out in some kind of chokey outy maneuver. And he pins Miro, and Bryan Danielson is the number one contender for the championship. Oh boy. Why did they do what they did? That's match number three. Okay? And you notice I'm not stopping and saying, and then they had this backstage segment, and then they had this backstage segment, and then there was so and so talking to a blonde lady. You haven't heard me talk about anyone talking to blonde ladies. Why? Because it happened 0 times. I saw these packages. Packages are well produced. No one's gonna match WWE's production ever, and that's fine. The production, the AEW is still very, very good, and it's not overproduced and it's not too long. On the pre-show, we saw pretty much this. Every feud had its own one package instead of every single feud, every moment, every wrestler from their side of it having their own 98 friggin' packages. So it did get repetitive with AEW. Like, okay, I've seen this package, I've seen this package, but at the same time, I didn't feel like I was being bombarded with movies during the entire time either. So they tell you between matches really just what you need to know. And the live crowd, even though the damn thing was 4 hours, oh boy, not counting the pre-show, where they needed Serena Deeb to have women in the crowd. Uh, Everything was too long. Every match was too long. MJF and Darby Allin, I have no idea how long it went, but really, I think by the time match number four, and I'm getting there, by the time that match was done, we were like 2 hours into the show in four matches. Like, it's getting crazy. The entrances aren't even that long. WWE will fill an hour of a 3.5 hour pay per view with entrances, and then another 45 minutes with talking to blonde ladies, and then if you blink, you might miss some wrestling. But they gave us wrestling, but they gave again. AEW gives you everyone doing everything they know how to do, and that brings us to this stupid fucking 6-man tag, false count anywhere. The Young Bucks and Adam Cole versus Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, Christian Cage. The Bucks have their facial hair painted purple for no reason. Cool, fine, not a big deal. So they do this match. It's everything you think it would be. Of course, there's no rules, so everyone's brawling around. They got the chairs, and then they got the tables, and then there's a ladder. I think there was a ladder. Or was that later on for the other stupid multi-man thing? I don't think this one had a ladder. This one had Christian Cage jump off a balcony at 64 years old onto a bunch of tiny men. This one had that Luchasaurus guy do impressive athletic things for a big man, but still looks stupid doing them. And this one had, of course, the Young Bucks have to do their stupid thumbtack thing, and all three guys have knee pads with thumbtacks sticking out of them somehow. They had those specially made that they bring out towards the end. You think that's the finish because they do a three-way knee to Luchasaurus with thumbtacks, and that got broken up. They put thumbtacks in Jungle Boy's mouth and did a three-way kick thing. That got broken up. Um, the only thing resembling a story in a match, of course, involved Christian Cage, who I can't. You probably have to fight for that. Is where he's gonna do the old concerto thing to one of the bad guys, and he hands the chair to Jungle Boy and says, "You do it." And Jungle Boy hesitates, and then it gets broken up by the heels. So later to the finish, I'm pretty sure this was the finish. Jungle Boy sees Christian Cage about to try the concerto, and he says, "No way, let me do it." Jungle Boy does it, and he pins one of the Young Bucks. I don't know the difference between Matt and Nick. I don't know. He pins one of them. Very good. Yeah, they did so much. It's so hard. Yikes! Every type of. There was a Canadian destroyer from Adam Cole jumping off some kind of mini scaffold thing. I think he did. I think he did it to Jungle Boy. I think so. I don't remember. Or Lucha. If it wasn't Christian, he did it too. I remember that because I lose my mind. I did that. Yeah, everybody did everything. There was the spot with all the super kicks. The Young Bucks had that Bucks match that all their fans think is the most amazing thing they've ever seen, and forget about it 2 days later. Much like the last pay per view I watched in early September, late August, whenever that was. Much like that pay per view, so far, this show could have lost that and been a better show. And everything coming later would have meant more because this is 5 out of 9. This is 4 out of 9 matches they're doing this shit. It took like 40 minutes, of course. Um, Too much. This could have been done in 15. Idolo, Andrade, and Idio and Malachi Black are a tag team, and they wrestle the team of Cody Rhodes, who everyone booed, and Bastard Pack, his name is. So I guess Pack has the word bastard in his name, and the ring announcer Justin Roberts from WWE fame announced him as the Bastard Pack. I don't know. You could. Well, anyway, this one bastard and this other son of a bitch fight these other two sons of bitches, and that bastard Pack eventually pinned Andrade because he wasn't pinning him out that. Funny for everyone who says, oh, I mean, I think all the multi-man matches on this show were bad, and for everyone who says, well, what about the tag team though? Surely, because Cody and Pac versus Idolo and Malachi, that can't be bad because those are four great wrestlers. Okay, that's fine. They can still have a bad match. I don't think it was a bad match, but for everyone who loves it and hates everything WWE, tell me the truth. Did these four or did they not have a WWE match on this AEW pay per view? The Excess and Blind tags, two tag teams. That's a actually it's a Raw match. I'm not. Excuse me. They had a WWE Raw match. Two tag teams. Both teams don't get along. Here's all the blind tags, all the and yada yada yada, and the finish is kind of a screwy thing anyway. So nobody really wins. Nobody really loses. Nobody gets over. Nobody gets buried. It just happens, and this thing just happened, and then it's over. Ty Conte versus Britt Baker, match number 6 for the AEW Women's Championship. Way better than I thought. I was afraid for this match because the first 5 minutes or so it was sleepy, and I like starting. I like a slow build, but I just didn't feel like it was a slow build. I thought it was just not getting a lot of reactions because of the stupid Bucks thing. Again, tires everybody out for everything every single time, and I just felt that they're not really that behind Ty Conti enough to get over that hump and power through that. I was gleefully wrong. Once Ty started making her comeback, then they started waking up, and that's the part where they need to be awake. They need to be awake. But she's making her comeback. She's doing her kicks on all her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stuff on Britt Baker. Everyone's excited. Baker's got her goons, and they gave her a glove to do her submission finish thing with, but doesn't really do anything. The glove. It's really just theatrics, but it's all theatrics. But this was theatrics for the sake of theatrics, under the theatrics storyline. Oh God. Anyway, they were behind Ty, but I don't think anyone thought Ty was going to win this thing, and she did not. I forget if she got pinned or submitted. I really don't know the answer. But Britt beat her. Britt Baker did beat her. I mean, this really had that keeping a champion busy feel. Like we know the title's not changing hands. We know they're not getting that far behind Ty Conte. So what's next? Because Britt beat Ruby and Britt beat Ty. What the hell does she do now? Do they finally just turn Britt and put her with Serena? They seem to care about Thunder again, but Thunder Rosa and Britt did that big thumbtack thing a few months back. Maybe that's it. So I don't know the answer. Did they sign someone? They must have. Oh, I hope they signed someone we don't know about because they got nothing else. Now I'm fighting back a sneeze. It hurts to sneeze. More than anything else, sneezing is the most painful thing. I think I've done it like twice in the last week, and I keep fighting it off. I tried to be brave and go into the sneeze and go with it, but now I have a new reflex where I just can't sneeze because the pain was so. I just have a new reflex where even if I'm trying. Anyway, we get to Kingston. Eddie Kingston versus CM Punk. These two have this personal issue where we're convinced that after 15 years they don't like each other. One guy went on to be very successful. CM Punk did. The other guy kind of not so much. He has this little cult following though, and they don't like each other. I got sniffled. I didn't sneeze. we start right off the bat. Eddie Kingston does he does like a cheap shot to Punk and headbutts him down or something like that. And he's got the advantage, and then of course the bell rings. And these two, again, it was again Ty versus Britt was too long. The tag team match was probably too long with the Cody Rhodes and friends. Obviously, the Bucks 6-man thing was 3 days too long. This thing was just right. I have no idea how long Kingston Punk actually was. 10, 12, 12-ish, something like that. But it's as long as it needed to be. Um, Punk got busted open a bit, but these two fought. Nothing was pretty. Everything made contact. It looked like two guys who do not like each other. I think they overdid, especially Kenny Kingston. They kind of overdid the yelling at each other with middle fingers, and Eddie no selling while he yells at you with middle fingers. He just did it like 3 times too many. Like, okay, enough, enough, enough. Gets a little cheap pop. Um, they were hell bent on calling each other some curse words several times, which is still I'm not that used to AEW still, so it's always weird to me. Like for example, to have that Britt Baker promo it ends with and ends with "I don't give a shit." I'm like, well, that's kind of it. Always takes me out for a second. I'm like, oh wait, they can do that. I forgot. I'm not saying WWE should do that. For them, it's probably bad business. For AEW, for their fans, it's perfect business. Except it doesn't draw new people, and so actually no, it's shitty business too. Just don't overdo it. It was a little overdone, even packages. Like I heard Tony Schiavone call a few teams a bunch of dipshits. I think he called the Bucks dipshits, which I laughed. But then he said shit like 3 or 4 other times in the pay per view. I'm like, Tony, we're recording this. Like, yeah, it was just totally like it's like I always feel like the announcer should be as unbiased as possible until someone like Jim Ross, oddly enough, who is good on this show, finally breaks and says when someone does something really heinous, goes that no good son of a bitch. No, sorry, but because then you believe like, oh, he's losing it. You crack the announcer. That guy was so evil. Jr. Before we say anything else on Kingston and Punk, so I noticed this on the last pay per view too. The Young Bucks have their big stupid cluster thing in the middle. Once that happens, and we're 2 hours into the show and only half done, and Jr. knows he's maybe even less than half done with this show after the Bucks did all that. Jr.'s patience goes right down the tubes. He's really because so if that style of wrestling frustrates you, the second half of these pay-per-views, you really get to hear Jr. just take dig after dig at how stupid some of it is, and I love it. I don't know if it's the best idea, but now he has to call it because the people at home see that something stupid, and he has to call it and go, "Hey, I guess do we not have referees anymore?" Or, yeah, or I can't believe so and so kicked out. And Tony Schiavone's laughing, having a good time. Like, can you believe it, Jr.? That's not over after that, and it's still not over after that. Like Tony's accidentally burying it, and Jr. is taking shots. So I think that's great. A lot of fun. Punk hits the GTS on Kingston. Kingston's close to the rope. Punk hits it again shortly after. Gets the 1, 2, 3. They're protecting Punk's finish, which is good. I like that. Punk did do because this was, I guess, the 16-year anniversary of Eddie Guerrero's death. So I think Punk did do the little shimmy and the frog splash, which gets repeated later. Gonna get there. No, Punk didn't do a frog splash. Excuse me, Punk did the Three Amigos. Somebody else did a frog splash. Oh yeah, I think it would have been who did Vicky Guerrero manage? I don't remember. Vicky Guerrero managed someone. Was it Idolo? Maybe. Oh, it was one of the. It was during the tag team match of Thunder Rosa and the rest of them. One of them did a big. Nyla Rose did a big frog splash and the shimmy Eddie shake your booby thingy, and because Vicky Guerrero was right there, they went nuts for that. And Jericho does it soon after. We're gonna get there. So anyway, Punk and Kingston do the thing afterwards. Punk finally sticks out his hand for a handshake. Eddie Kingston walks away from the handshake. It's his oldest time, but I don't think it's, at least not in AEW, I don't think it's ever done. So, or, so it can't be overdone, so that's good. We don't want to overdo it. Overdoing is bad. And more so even than MJF and Darby Allin, this Kingston Punk thing, this thing needs a rematch. Doesn't have to be on a pay-per-view. You can do it on TV, but make it an important TV. Um, the crowd was split. I noticed that for the first time. People were cheering for someone else to beat Punk. Because the promos leading up to it, the live promos were done so well and so convincingly. And Eddie Kingston can be such a sympathetic babyface. I think sometimes, even when he's not trying to be such a lovable underdog, that people really went with him. And, Eddie looks like them. So they kind of just went, oh, yay, we like him, we like him. But they were still with Punk. It doesn't hurt Punk. I saw some stupid comments online. Oh, look, the Punk lost all his steam. They're already turning on CM Punk. No, they're not. Not even close. They just like Eddie Kingston, okay? It's just Punk doesn't have a. There's hardly any real heels in the AEW, so they're turned a little bit. But okay. We have two matches left. This next match, the 400-man tag match. It's 10. It's 5 versus 5. It's Jericho and his stupid friends versus this Dan Lambert guy who's basically AEW can't get Jim Cornette, so they got this Lambert guy to imitate what they think Jim Cornette is, and just crotchety and hates fancy flips and everything else, and because they don't really listen, they just need someone to hate them, so they have an enemy. Let's call. This match was a complete embarrassment to professional wrestling. It shouldn't have been on TV and pay per view. It shouldn't have been on TV on TV. It shouldn't have happened at a house show. It should have never happened. And I can't believe Chris Jericho let this much of this stupid bullshit goes down. They got a ski board as a weapon. They got a toaster as a weapon. Keep in mind we had a 6-man 3 versus 3 multi-man match 3 matches ago, but probably 2 hours before it. Also using every weapon they had. Well, these guys use every weapon, and there was a ladder. And a big ladder dive. Sammy Guerrero does a dangerous thing, flip off a ladder on the table through a guy. They used every stupid weapon you possibly could. There was a stapler that didn't staple anybody anywhere. Really fake shots with guys taking bumps for this stupid ski board coming at their face, or jet ski thing, or whatever. Water ski, I don't know. Really childish. Just too funny, too choreographed, too everything, and too much for this part of the show. It was really embarrassing. And two highlights of the match. Baron Von Raschke, who's got to be 85. What was he doing there? He's an, if you're not familiar, as an old wrestler. I knew of him barely. I saw him. He would wrestle for Vern in the late '80s, early '90s. So I'd see him on AWA, the ESPN show they had for a little bit, and he was like 55, 60 then. I was 10, 11 years old. And yeah, maybe he wasn't wrestling. Obviously, he was at ringside because he's in Minneapolis. He's a Minneapolis wrestling legend, and they show him, and he holds up his claw because he was famous for the Iron Claw, and that's fine. I think it's great. Applaud him and everything else. He gets into the match, and stupid. I'm going to call him Egon Page because his friend Danhausen does, and I do not care much for. I don't think Ethan Page has any genuine talent. He's got that fake charisma that I'm going to pretend to be Rock Jericho, oddly enough, as much as possible. I'm just an arrogant guy, but you just don't believe him. Like, you believe MJF, even though they are helping. The crowd is helping MJF by booing him, even though they love him. They are trying to look. He's a real heel. He gets boos, and then they boo him, even though they love him. So they just knowingly set it up for themselves to succeed, I guess. So Egon Page takes the claw, and the claw becomes undone from Baron Von at one point. You got to hold the guy's hand to your head as you're squirming around. This 80-year-old guy isn't going to have the grip to hold your giant sweaty head at 27 years old or whatever. But it didn't matter. I mean, it made people happy for a second. So Baron Von Raschke is all elite, which is an insane thing to say. And Then we come back to the second Eddie tribute of the night. Eddie Guerrero. I'm just mumbling all these words on the Eddie Guerrero tribute. Chris Jericho, who again was his friend and did wrestle him and everything else, after this completely embarrassing match, right after Guerrero pretends to hit Dan Lambert in the nuts with a stapler, Guerrero goes up, does the Eddie shimmy, and does the frog splash and the 1, 2, 3. I think he pinned him with it. I don't think he beat him with the Jericho line. Maybe he did, but he definitely did towards the end, if not the very end, the frog splash. I don't even remember Jericho's frog splash. I don't care. That's not the point. I'm not going to judge everybody's frog splash like that's the idea. And then he has to have a long point up to the sky, Eddie Guerrero this, have everyone chant Eddie, Eddie, Eddie. So they're chanting, and to me, that was a complete bastardization of Eddie Guerrero's memory. Like, you just had this goofy, clownish match, like as if Eddie would have liked this match, first of all. Uh, and it was way too long. Again, this thing was like this. Oh god, it was like 20 minutes. Way too freaking long. It was longer than Kingston and Punk, which is a crime. This thing, I mean, this thing. If I had my druthers, everyone would have gone in, done their spot, and then go home, and that would have been it. This thing would have been over. The ring time would have been 5 minutes, maybe 7 or 8 with the entrances, and then move on. Oh, a security guard was used as a weapon during this match. I'm sorry, I forgot. A security a security guard whose job it is to protect the people from harm and to protect the wrestlers from harm, to protect the wrestlers and fans from each other, the job of a security guard. One of the bad guys instructed or good guys, I forget, one of the stupid wrestlers instructed the security guy to get down on all fours by the barricade, and he did. And then the other wrestler jumped off the security guard's back, did a flip into the crowd, on sort of onto whoever the hell he was wrestling, and kicked some fans in the face. And the security guard did the complete opposite of whatever the hell his job is. That's an abomination. And there's going to be a goddamn lawsuit. Well, at an NXT show, 2018, the pre-SummerSlam NXT takeover, I went to Barclays in Brooklyn by myself. The main event was Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano. Haven't heard that name in a while. Good old Johnny Gargano. They were having a last man standing match, and I got good seats. I was in the seventh row for that. Gargano broke a crutch over Tommaso Ciampa's back. The crutch flew into the crowd and cut the face of a guy like 5 seats from me. And most people were cool and gave him space, and I think someone gave him a towel or a t-shirt or something. And some security people came and found him and brought him somewhere. Hopefully they gave him some good first aid and maybe some free shit and a lot of shut up money, and please sign these papers and thanks. Is probably what happened. But it sucks ass. Because that guy was just enjoying the match like everybody else. And he didn't get to see the main event because now his face is cut up. So stop doing stupid bullshit. And then they invoke Eddie Guerrero's name. So great. Yeah, because that's what Eddie would have done, right? Please. Anything. It was a bastardization of Eddie Guerrero's memory, in my opinion. What the hell? No one cares what I think. The main event. Of all the singles matches, which were the good ones, this was the least good, but the finish was the thing in this match. And again, at this point, we've seen 4 hours of everything. So Hangman Page challenges Kenny Omega. Omega's wrestling. Of course, Omega wrestles like as a heel. He doesn't disrespect the babyface. He wrestles like he's disrespecting wrestling, and that's why I hate watching him wrestle. And I hated this. I think I liked him and Christian Cage a little better, but I think Christian would have controlled a little more of the nonsense. This was mostly Hangman Page selling for Omega. It was the Omega show, and then there was some kind of schmozzes. There was a bump to ref. Don Callis getting involved. Don Callis gets bumped to the ring apron. Hardest brother. The Young Bucks come limping out. They shouldn't even be coming out with their brains bashed in from that match, but whatever. At least they're limping out or something, trying to pretend they sell something. And then there was a weird finish I didn't understand, where it looks like the Bucks are going to stop Hangman Page from delivering his finish, the Buckshot Lariat or whatever, where Hangman Page is standing on the ring apron, hardest part of it. And then He does like a somersault, lands on his feet, clotheslines the guy. And they were teasing this move throughout the match, and it looked like one of the young bucks. I think the one who was hit with the darker hair one, who was actually hit with the double chair thing. He was the awake one, and he just looked at Hangman and like nodded, and then let Hangman hit his move and hit Omega. So everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Hangman wins! Hangman wins! Hangman wins! Yay! Big happy moment, right, for AEW." People are idiots. People are idiots. Because okay, yeah, they had to have all of the Tom fuckery in the world for him to beat Omega. I don't remember seeing Omega lose all 8 of those other belts that he had. By the way, did he? Did anyone beat him for any of those other than Christian? Sort of, and I think they schmozzed that up too. No, of course not. So what the hell? That just went away. He had everyone else's championship. Well, look at the exposure he's going to give to all these other little promotions. Oh, really? Can you name one? Because they just pranced around with their belt. Never mentioned it by name, and said it's one of 8 belts we have, and all these other companies don't have champions for a few months. Cool. Wow, way to help. Way to help the indies, assholes. So Hangman Page pins Kenny Omega. The Dark Order comes out to congratulate him, put him on their shoulders, and everybody cheers. Everybody's happy. How Bryan Danielson will bounce back from the stupidity of this? I don't know if Page will, because now Bryan Danielson is one of the most over baby faces in the company. Definitely, him and Punk are the 2 biggest stars. You can argue one versus the other, I guess. I always argued Punk had more mystique just because he wasn't on wrestling for as long, and his return was it became like a myth unto itself. Like no one really, like a lot of people didn't think would ever really happen, but it's strange. But Brian's always been around, even when he was hurt, and we thought he was retired forever. He was always around in some form, so it's a hard one. That's the only reason I give the nod to Punk. And Punk had the UFC matches, so Punk might be the bigger star, but really they're 2 colossal wrestling stars. It doesn't matter. So Hangman Page is supposed to stay a babyface. He's been off TV for 3 months or something like that. He's gonna stay a babyface. Like, I mean, they will keep him a babyface, but he's gonna maintain all that love and all that positive energy from the crowd against Daniel Bryan. Really? I don't know about that. I don't think that's your match. I think maybe have Bryan wait. Then Bryan isn't much of a babyface if he waits too long to. I don't know. This isn't really a cash in opportunity. I don't think like Money in the Bank. They just say he's the number 1 contender and he'll get his shot whenever it's deemed that he'll get his shot, which I think is a sensible way of doing it, and not as illogical as the wrestler can have a title shot whenever they say so. Well, that's no. So that's interesting. I don't. This doesn't look good because if Paige beats Bryan, people are gonna be mad at Paige for beating Bryan. If Bryan beats Paige. I think they'll be happy because they saw a title change because things will be hot shotted a little bit. Uh, did Omega just not want to lose to Bryan? If that's the case, he's a fool because if I were Omega, I'd use all my political bullshit to not lose to Paige and lose it to Bryan. Because Omega and Bryan is the match that's going to get all the eyeballs. Like for everyone who thought, oh, I can't believe they had Darby lose to CM Punk, who's been out for 7. Yeah, you idiots. More people just saw Darby Allin in one match than his entire career. I don't know, guys. So much talent. So much talent. Such bad booking. I mean, everyone's an armchair booker. That's why these things exist. But I just think Paige is just in a bad spot. Like, would it be better if somebody else was in Paige's way? Like, oh, Paige should be challenging for the big one, but somebody else can't stop fucking with him and getting in his head or getting in his way or attacking him or trying to hurt him or whatever. And Paige has just got to deal with it. Just somebody keep Paige busy, get some heat on him. I don't know. I think they're using MJF wrong sometimes. Forgive me. I had to yawn. I have to yawn in little sections there because it hurts my stitches. I think that was AEW Full Gear. I almost fell asleep during the review of this show. This show was listen, it wasn't going to match their last pay per view, whatever the hell it was called. I forget. I don't remember. But that pay per view had three debuts. You had Ruby Riott was the feel good one. Punk's wrestling debut, even though he'd been talked on TV already. That was the big money match. And the surprise colossal debuts of Adam Cole and then Daniel Bryan. Like that show, everything was good on it except for the Young Bucks match with the Luchas in a cage. This, they hot shot at some of them surprises. Were they counting on getting Bray for this? Bray Wyatt? Because that would have woke things up. I mean, every match was just too long, except Eddie and Punk. Um, yeah, Page and Omega, because Omega's got to do all his shit too. Uh, Yikes! I'm glad there was no afterbirth after Page won a championship. It was just okay. Babyface wins. Throw the babies in the air. Put them on your shoulders. Yay! Roll credits. That was good. Just we had enough. I was hoping there was nothing. Like, don't give me a Bray Wyatt right now. Don't give me anyone else because I can't care about it right now. If you do, I really can't. Hoping maybe we'll get to see some different heels, like a Malachi Black challenge for the big one. At least challenge, at least have that in those main event matches, because that's what happens when yeah, it's long championship reigns are good, but what happens is if you have like a heel champion that's a long reign, all your other heels they're going to be looking pretty ineffective because they have nowhere to go, and you got to beat somebody on a way to beat that top heel. This is usually with any women's division, this is really what happens. So, if the Raw Women's Challenge, just say who is there right now? Becky Lynch and Charlotte are both, I guess, both heels right now on their respective shows. So if you're a singles heel woman wrestler on SmackDown or Raw, you're kind of fucked because there's nowhere to go, and somebody needs to be beaten on the way to wrestle that heel champion. So it's like if someone's the same side as you and they're the champion and you're not, you're the fodder. Especially yeah, WWE women's divisions were always it's not as bad as it used to be, but they could always use some program where two women have some issue and it's not over a championship, just to have somebody else doing something. And then you can have an excuse like, okay, Dana Brooke never wrestles on TV, but now she can because those other two women who have an issue are going to need fodder to get in the way of not having that match just quite yet. AEW Full Gear, not the hit that the last one was. Not a complete failure. There was good stuff. I only fell asleep because I was tired. I don't think I really fell asleep because I mean, God, it was the beginning of the second match, and I enjoyed the first match mostly. So it wasn't that. It was just shit happens. Did I eat a lot of food? I went out for Hawaiian. I like that place. That place is very nice. Yes, I was full and I laid down. I went, I wasn't on my sleep, and there you go. That'll do it. That'll do it. And that'll do it for me. Hold, this is long. Thank you guys for listening to me ramble on about wrestling, AEW. It was nice just to watch different wrestlers, different characters, different names, hear different voices announcing. I'll be as familiar as they are. That was refreshing for me. So, still no regrets. I'm glad I did it. Only wished I got some kind of courtesy replay so I could actually watch that Danielson Miro match. And it would also be nice if, in addition to all the stupid weapons and every flip and every dangerous bump, can we stop taking bumps on the hardest part of the ring, the hardest part of the ring. Ba da ba da